Mr. Sanjeev Prasad, Head Power Utilities and ETP, RIL, DMD. Sanjeev is a seasoned professional with more than 27 years of experience, adept at visionary leadership in fast-paced setting. He oversees sustainability, energy transition, operational efficiency, HSEF, and more for a petrochemical complex. Today, Mr. Sanjay Prasad will talk about renewable energy capacity. So, let's welcome Mr. Sanjeev.
Thanks, CPR Magazine, for giving me an opportunity to talk once again on your forum. It's nice coming back to the same place. So the subject that you have assigned me is renewable energy capacity. Okay. So energy is something which is of utmost importance for any economy whatsoever. So unless and until energy sustainability is there, things cannot survive. For energy sustainability, it is always important that you have got alternate sources. You are not dependent only on non-renewable sources. So that is where your renewable gets into picture. So renewable, when it started, we all thought of capacities on solar, capacities on wind, some capacities on hydro that has existed for long, and some that is being added. So further capacities that was not thought of in terms of energy, which are now like of sort of emerging or already into the market. Like one of them is CBG, that is compressed biogas. Then you have got the use of biomass that is getting in. Then use of hydrogen, which is still to pick up by any means whatsoever. There is limited usage here and there. And something like green hydrogen that needs to be produced out of greener fuels. So these are the areas which have got lot of capacity, although lot of impetus has been placed by the government on growth of solar. Government has also allowed individuals to install solar panels over their rooftops and use them. So that is where government has promised that you can use almost 300 units of energy out of your own and sell the balance. That's the average household consumption that has been picked up by the government. So that is one way of expanding it, but still the entire thing does not become very economical. When we say capacity, the capacity needs to be enhanced. If it is to be enhanced, manufacturing needs to be coming back to India, and it needs to be cheaper and cheaper so that people can afford installation. Literally, the dream would come true when every house in your village household will have a solar rooftop. Then only you can say that energy capacity utilization is maximum for solar. The only problem when you talk of solar happens to be the waste management out of solar that is to be taken care on aging. As of now, we have not reached a stage whereby there is a lot of waste that is generated out of it. Yes, that is also something which is likely to emerge. Another area is the wind power, which is not completely harnessed as far as our country is concerned. We still are long away from wherever we should be in terms of wind power also. So wind power development is another thing which the government is working on. And perhaps as a person who is working for an industry, I look at that more and more incentives needs to get in, and more and more regulatory framework support needs to be provided such that these things move faster. Okay. So then you look at things like biomass. Although biomass again being forced by regulation requires that every power producer utilize at least 5% of the energy is produced through biomass. So that is still to be realized. And if you look at whatever data is available on government websites, the power generation from biomass, whether it is bagasse or non-bagasse based, happens to be too low. The capacity happens to be only 10,000 megawatt out of that entire possibility that is there. The biomass that is available is assumed to be around 230 million metric ton per annum, out of which around 28 gigawatt can be produced. So we are far off that. And the other one, what I talked of a while ago, was CBG, whereby you get compressed biogas directly, which is connected and filled into your vehicles, mixed with methane, and then you use it. So that has got a capacity of 40 to 60 million metric ton, of which only 0.1 million metric ton is the capacity that is available today. There's around 46 plants which are operating as on date, which are producing around 270 metric ton per day of CBG. So these areas have got large scope. When we say biomass or when we say CBG, these are something which can be produced throughout the year, except for the limitations of perhaps monsoon, when you do not get good quality biomass. Biomass is not available to the same extent. Rather, biomass is more, but large. You need dried biomass for these purposes, which is not available. So once that is available, that will be a great capacity to utilize, because it does not produce anything that goes into the atmosphere. So CBG is a very good option on which most of the public sectors are also working, and many private sector companies are also getting. One of the issues when you talk of renewable energy, the first speaker, Mr. Subramaniam, talked of was in terms of RTC, that is round the clock power availability. When we say solar, when we say wind, the power is not available throughout the day. So lot needs to be developed, although we are talking of it. There is a commitment from NTPC. NTPC has been given in order to make that storage facility. So storage, what we are talking of as of now is pump storage or battery storage. Battery storage happens to be cost prohibitive, so it cannot go for a long period. So alternatives needs to be thought of if we are to replace thermal energy completely, which constitutes 50%, as rightly said a while ago by one of our speakers, told that 50% of the capacity. So that is the quantity that literally needs to be completely replaced by renewables. So out of the 442 gigawatt capacity that is installed in the country, 50%, if you say it is 220 gigawatts, that is still on thermal power, that has got large scope for removal from using all these things. So I talked of one of the problems, that is capital investment, that needs to be supported, incentivized by the government. Then one more problem on these renewable sources are in terms of low energy efficiency. The efficiencies are not as high. These technologies, yes, people are working on it. Everything is not matured. If you talk of, say, something on biomass, biomass has got limitation of whatever chemical content that it has. Chemical content prevents use of all kinds of biomass that are available all around from the farmers or from the field. So for using all of them, it needs to be chemically compatible, or we need to improve upon metallurgy. So those research is going on, and still we have to come up with solutions for that. Another one that I talked of was recycling and waste management out of solar power or whatever renewable energy sources we get, whatever it generates, how do we manage that? And one of the big problems happens to be utilization of space. When we say solar power, a solar power station requires a large amount of space without covering the utilizable, rather we cannot cover the green fields with a solar power plant. So solar power plant obviously has to go into places like Kutch or any of the desert areas or any of the hilly areas, depending on, and if you have seen certain social media videos and all, or even on the news, that many of those solar panels, floating solar panels, have been damaged during this monsoon. So we need to work out solutions on that also. So with all this, if we are able to work out on all this, we will be able to realize the dream of a sustainable energy source coming up from renewable sources only on the round the clock basis. So that is the dream that we have, to be a completely self-energy reliant country, so that we are not dependent on anybody outside to supply our energy, which is the main source of lifeline or main source of the economy. Because largely, if you look at a large portion of most of the products that you see around, large cost goes into energy. So as we minimize, this is also with an aim to minimize the cost of energy. So we need to work towards the dream of realizing this capacity enhancement. If I talk of, say, capacity enhancement that has gone over last 10 years, Just for the purpose of data sake, I am just telling you, wind power capacities have doubled. Solar power capacities have grown by 30 times. Small hydro 1.3, biomass bagasse based 1.3, biomass non-bagasse based 1.73, and then rest is waste to power, waste to energy by 2.5 times. So largely you can see that entire effort has gone only towards solar power, so everything else remains largely untapped. We still need to work on. All the support is rightly available from government. Yes, the expected one is ki whatever policy gaps are there, like there are gaps in terms of whatever policies or whatever notifications are there from the central government, they are not ratified by the state government. So many places those investments get blocked. You are unable to use under the very same regulation that is provided by the CERC unless and until states ratify it. So these are the things that needs to be taken care so that our capacity increases and we are able to replace, rather we are partially able to do it, that all new capacities that are coming up, almost 60 to 70% of the capacity is renewable and rest is thermal. You will hear of very less and less number of thermal power plants coming up in the near future. That is what is expected. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjeev Prasad, for sharing your views.